Welcome to CBC Windsor News at 6. I'm Meg Roberts. Thanks so much for spending part of your evening with us tonight. Windsor's electric vehicle battery plant should produce its first module this month as the project looks to hire. We have the details on what types of jobs, plus an event to honor those who have lost their lives to addiction. It's taking place now. We're live from the Lights of Hope. And in an effort to stop students from vaping, local school boards are trying out some new technology. There are projects across Canada that have scaled back plans to enter the electric vehicle market. People aren't giving up their gas vehicles just yet. Our CBC's Chris Ensing spoke one-on-one with the CEO of Nextstar Energy to see if this facility is still moving forward.
I have new details about the jobs that are available at Nextstar Energy's battery plant here in Windsor. But with similar multi-billion-dollar projects either being halted or delayed, the first question is this thing still going ahead? I'm Chris Ensing, and I just interviewed the CEO of Nextstar Energy. This was the first battery plant announced in Canada and the first expected to come online. Meanwhile, Ford is pushing back EV production 2 years in Oakville. Northvolt says its battery plant in Quebec could be delayed by 18 months. And Umicore in Kingston, they halted construction of the operation earlier this year. Each says soft demand for electric vehicles made them rethink timelines. So I asked Nextstar CEO Danis Lee if the project is moving forward. Ferry, are you still standing behind this?
Absolutely. In the marketplace, there is some slowdown in the EV market. But when it comes to our project that we are working together with Stellantis, our customer, they have a clear plan for the EV transition, and seems like so far we are pretty much in good track. So that's why we are one of few projects go, without any issue in terms of schedule, in terms of scale of the project.
I'm told that they're building the operation backwards, so they'll have the body of a car, but without the engine. The modules will be the first thing they finish later this month, and then they'll complete cell production next year. When this was first announced, they anticipated full production early 2025.
We are also, working very hard to make sure that down the road, in 1 year, we are fully ready for the production of the cell and the electrode too.
Government subsidies, up to $15 billion worth, are tied to production. Politicians say that it's a good deal because it brings 2,500 direct jobs. Right now, there's about 350 people on staff.
Right now, we're really focusing on what we call our seed member group, which is a highly specialized group, everything from technicians to engineers and leaders.
They expect to hit 600 by the end of the year. Those are specialized positions. It's next year, when they get closer to that final number, when we'll start to see entry-level positions posted. Those will not require post-secondary education.
A rift between Stellantis and the United Auto Workers is raising fears that some U.S. auto jobs could vanish. The automaker had pledged to reopen an assembly plant in Illinois after a contract with the union last year. Since then, Stellantis reported poor sales earnings this year and has delayed the reopening, citing unfavorable market conditions. Stellantis says it will eventually meet its commitment to reopen the plant, but no date has been set. Union members on the other side of the border say they fear that Stellantis will break other commitments in other states, eventually jeopardizing their jobs. Labor experts say its two Detroit area rivals, Ford and General Motors, are watching this closely. They say those automakers are weighing their own strategies, including whether to move future production sites out of the United States and away from the UAW. Windsor's mayor placed the city in a hiring freeze today, anticipating what he calls significant budget pressures heading into next year. Drew Dilkins used his strong mayor powers to make this change, saying the hiring freeze takes effect right away. That's for all permanent full-time city positions. A city spokesperson said they couldn't say how many positions are currently vacant and if the freeze impacts job postings. The union that represents inside workers declined to comment. Just down the street from Windsor City Hall, community members are coming together to remember those who have died from addiction. CBC's Jennifer LaGrassa is at the event in Charles Clark Square. She joins us now live. Jen, public health data shows that every year there has been more and more people dying from addiction in our community. What is the message of tonight's event?
Yeah, so even though the drug crisis here in Windsor, Essex continues to get worse, there's quite a few people gathered here tonight to really give each other hope for a better future. The event, called Lights for Hope, is a space for people to come and talk about addiction, recovery, to mourn the ones that they have lost in their lives, and to talk about those that are still struggling.
Lights of Hope, its main purpose is to give hope. It's to give hope to those we've lost, family members, and to offer support. And for those that are still struggling, to not give up on them. There's always hope, there's always miracles, and just be there.
We need to hear the stories of those who are in recovery, to know that you can live a good, peaceful, and joyful life in recovery, and also to talk about those who are still struggling, so everybody understands a little bit better and can, broach the topic and maybe know what to say or what to do, or just to think about it a little bit differently.
So there's many different organizations that are here tonight. They range from harm reduction all the way to detox and treatment. Naloxone kits are also being handed out. The event here started around 6 o'clock in Charles Clark Square, and it's going to continue into the evening. There will be speakers and music, and people are welcome to come out tonight. There's also going to be a candlelit vigil. Meg.
Thanks so much for that, Jen. That's the CBC's Jennifer LaGrassa reporting live. The OPP says 2 Windsor residents were killed in a crash in Lambton County. The crash happened around 1 p.m. yesterday between the communities of Oil Springs and Alvinston, north of Chatham. Officials say a tractor-trailer and a passenger vehicle collided. The vehicle's driver and passenger, both in their late 70s, died. Their identities have not been released. Well, school boards in Windsor, Essex are trying out some new technology to discourage vaping, and the local Catholic board is spending $89,000 this year to help. CBC's Jennifer LaGrassa reports.
In bathrooms like these, Windsor Essex high schools are adding in vape detectors. These are small boxes that are going to be attached to the ceiling, and when they detect vape fumes, they'll send an alert through text message or email to school staff. The goal of these sensors to discourage students from vaping, especially on school property. There will also be a camera outside of the bathroom, which schools will use to find out who set off the sensor. Last year, the Catholic board piloted these sensors in some spots. It doesn't have results from that pilot, but says that staff saw a change.
That has had a significant effect, that there's a lot of students who have limited the behavior, at least in those washrooms.
By the end of the year, there will be vape detectors in all Catholic high school bathrooms in our region. The public board is also going to be doing the same thing once its funding comes in.
The important part is that we're interrupting that cycle, that we're having this conversation, that we're centering it, and we're actually trying to change this behavior and support our students to make healthy choices.
Students caught will be talked to and their parents called. Suspension won't be immediately handed out. Some students have mixed thoughts on the detectors.
There are a lot of people at my school, including myself, who do not vape, so going into the bathroom, seeing a lot of people in the bathrooms on school property vaping, I know it can be intimidating. Enforcing rules like this will at least keep it out of these areas.
I understand that kids and teens shouldn't be vaping, but with all these extra measures that they're putting into place, it's just making kids want to vape more.
Both boards say they'll be tracking just how effective the sensors are. Jennifer LaGrassa, CBC News, Windsor.
There was a time when the only hotels in Essex County were in Leamington. Next month, the 6-suite boutique hotel will open in Amherstburg. It's adding to the places people can stay in Essex County for a local getaway or for out-of-town guests. Windsor Morning host Amy Dodge spoke with the president of Amherstburg's new hotel.
There was a terrible lack of inventory for anyone to come and stay. We had several visitors come to the area and then they would pack up and leave for a night's stay in Windsor. So we really don't want to see that happening. But in our case, we had these beautiful heritage buildings, a beautiful downtown area, and we wanted people to come and appreciate it.
Colette, if it wasn't a Thursday, I would have headed to the beach. Although beach water testing has concluded for the 2024 season, so it might have been best to stay on the land, on the beach.
Well, and you can make that determination for yourself then when we get to the weekend, because what I can tell you is, now we're at Thursday. People start asking, really, can we seriously consider this weather is going to continue? It's going to continue, Meg.
Nice. Okay, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, so it's there for the weekend for those who might be working during the week and off on the weekend. And if you're working this weekend, you know what? It carries on into next week, in fact. So we are really into this pattern for multiple days. And obviously, it's not just here for the Great Lakes. It stretches well back towards the Midwest, 31 in Topeka and Indianapolis. And I know, 26 degrees right now, but we were a few degrees warmer than that. And in fact, we're going to find those temperatures, really up there around the upper 20s towards 30 degrees over the next few days, with the humidex values to deal with too here in mid-September. Current reading, though, there is that 26, 24 Chatham-Kent, Sarnia as well, 26 now in London. It was 27 a little bit earlier. Let's check out the humidex. All right, there we go. It feels like we're in the low 30s. It's not oppressive, as I was mentioning yesterday, but still it does start to kind of make you wonder what the calendar is reading. Now, we generally have clear skies, and I say it that way because I'm going to explain why. I mean, yes, there is sunshine, but is that dramatic or what? Yeah, through the upper atmosphere especially, we do have smoke in the atmosphere coming from the west, mostly from the wildfires in California. As our pattern starts to change, or their pattern does in the west, where it gets a little cooler, a little wetter, that should start to calm things down. But it does make our skies a little bit hazy, right? So you do get that impact. Also with this humidity in the atmosphere, some morning fog, not out of the question. Again, tomorrow the sun will come out and burn that off, but you get the hazy appearance, but you also get pretty nice sunsets because of that smoke in the atmosphere. I hate to say it, but it does make it look pretty great. And at about 7:45 tonight, that's when you can catch that. So there's the trough coming towards the west, but we're into this dome, this ridge in the east, protecting us, even protecting us from the moisture of what is left of Francine, which made its way about just a little more than 24 hours ago across the coast there of Louisiana. As a Cat 2 hurricane, and still looking at nearly 300,000 people without power there. So we have nice conditions just with a bit of that haziness for several days now. We'll be looking at that. Overnight tonight, temperatures a little bit milder than what they were last night. You can catch that here, and that chance of some fog kind of lingering tomorrow, around 7, 8, it's perhaps still there, and then it's burnt off pretty quickly. 27 for tomorrow. I'm taking us to 29 on Saturday, 30 for Sunday, but just keep in mind those humidex values, 31 into the weekend, Meg, creeping up. It'll make you want to go swimming towards 34, 35 even.
Yeah, I don't need to know what's in the water. I don't need no beach water testing. It's warm enough to test it out, maybe.
Yeah, all right. You let me know how that goes.
Okay. Thanks so much for that, Colette.
You're welcome.
A potential Air Canada pilot strike could impact your travel. We have the details coming up. The ongoing contract dispute between Air Canada and the pilots union threatens to disrupt travel plans for many this weekend. It could upend thousands of business trips, vacations, as well as cargo shipments. As Peter Cowan reports, businesses on the East Coast that depend on tourism are already feeling the impact.
Most people arriving on the island of Newfoundland do so by air, and the majority fly Air Canada. But now, even before starting their vacation, visitors aren't sure how it'll end.
It's quite worrisome because I'm here and how will I get back? It's a little far to walk.
The union representing pilots can issue a 72-hour strike notice as of Sunday. A lockout notice is also possible. Air Canada says it'll have to start winding down flights in anticipation as early as Friday. A strike would ground all flights by Wednesday. Already, pilots have set up a strike headquarters in Toronto. Wages remain one of the big issues. The pilots are looking for a big increase to close the gap with their American counterparts.
I'm cautiously optimistic. The last week or so seems to have been productive at the negotiating table. As you can see here, we're ready for any eventuality.
But Air Canada is warning the federal government may need to step in if a deal isn't reached.
We have accepted changes to over 70% of the collective bargaining agreement, but we are now faced with unreasonable wage demands that unfortunately we cannot meet.
The tourism industry is also on edge and putting pressure on government.
A labor disruption in air travel won't just leave people stranded, it will ripple through the economy, hitting small business owners who are already struggling to make it.
The best deals happen at the bargaining table.
The federal government is still hoping this will be resolved through negotiation, not arbitration, but some travelers aren't waiting to find out. Back in Newfoundland, hotels are getting an increase in cancellations.
We're not going to be able to get the opportunity to make up this business. So, and for many of us, it's the profit.
Air Canada is letting passengers rebook their flights for free. Adding any cancellations by the airline will result in a refund. Peter Cowan, CBC News, St. John's.
An Ontario judge has admitted to sentencing a man to prison for 2 years longer than intended. In a recent letter to the Ontario Court of Appeal, Justice Andrew Goodman outlined his error in the manslaughter case. Samantha Beattie has more.
Jonathan Stiers was shot and killed in 2016. His mother died last year, but her sister Rhonda Johns says she was at peace, thinking that the man who killed her son was going to prison.
8 long years for justice that my sister will never see. But I had told her that I would keep this going for her.
The reason for the wait? 2 trials, 1 mistrial, and an appeal to the Supreme Court of Canada. Last year, Peter Cahill was convicted of manslaughter, but more than a year later, there's a new twist in the story. In a letter to the Court of Appeal, the trial judge says the 8-year sentence he read out in court was the wrong one. Justice Andrew Goodman says he prepared 3 decisions with different sentences. As I left my chambers, he wrote, I inadvertently took the wrong set of reasons with me. He says he meant to say 6 years, not 8, and didn't correct himself in court.
Well, I haven't really seen anything like this in 35 years of teaching criminal law.
In the letter, Goodman says he consulted with several experienced judicial colleagues. He says he considered coming clean earlier, but was dissuaded from doing so.
It was a very charged offense. It got a lot of publicity in the Hamilton Six Nations area. And so that makes, this mistake, I think, even more embarrassing for the administration of justice.
In a statement to CBC News, Cahill's wife Millie says she is deeply unsettled. Rhonda John says she wants the 8 years to stick.
We've been carrying this since 2016. And every time I think about it, I just get more angrier that nothing has been done yet, and we need to see justice done.
Justice Goodman sentenced Cahill in this courthouse over a year ago. When the Court of Appeal hears the case next month, it will be asked to look at both the verdict and sentence, including what to do about the judge's mistake. Samantha Beattie, CBC News, Hamilton.
American singer Jon Bon Jovi is being credited for saving a woman's life. That story coming up after the break. Disgraced former movie mogul Harvey Weinstein has been indicted on additional sex crime charges in New York. The indictment will remain under seal until Weinstein is arraigned on the new charges later this month. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office says there are multiple accusers prepared to testify against him. The new charges come ahead of a retrial in Weinstein's overturned rape conviction in his landmark Me Too case. Prosecutors say they are presenting a grand jury with evidence of up to 3 additional allegations against him, dating as far back as the mid-2000s. With the debate behind them, the 2 U.S. presidential candidates are focusing today on swing states. But some of the toughest people to attract during any election are young voters. And when it comes to politics, popularity can matter as much as policies. Allison Northcott takes a closer look at one celebrity endorsement that's getting a strong reaction.
When Taylor Swift has something to say, fans pay attention. I'm voting for Kamala Harris because she fights for the rights and causes I believe need a warrior to champion them, the pop star posted on Instagram to her 283 million followers after the presidential debate. I've made my choice. Your research is all yours to do and the choice is yours to make, she wrote, signing off childless cat lady, a reference to a comment made by Donald Trump's running mate J.D. Vance.
I am incredibly grateful, first of all, to Taylor Swift. I say that also as a cat owner, a fellow cat owner. And that's the type of courage we need in America to stand up.
Swift said it was time to be transparent about her voting plans after a fake AI image of her appearing to endorse Trump was posted on his site. Trump reacted to Swift's choice on Fox News.
I was not a Taylor Swift fan. It was just a question of time.
For Swifties who are Harris supporters, her endorsement is encouraging.
The more that we get that boost of support from the bigger names out there in the world, I think the better it will be.
That endorsement surely is going to have an impact.
This expert says Swift might not change minds, but could motivate young people to vote in a tight race.
Taylor Swift endorsement has had an influence on voter registration in 2023. She told her followers to register on vote.org as electors, and there was a surge.
This Swift fan and Trump supporter isn't swayed.
Could Taylor Swift change your mind?
No, never. I still love her work. I might be a little bit more reluctant to go to a concert because, you know, I understand everyone has their political affiliation. Do I feel like she's using her stature to influence people? Absolutely.
Democrats hoping to harness that influence come Election Day. Allison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.
Police in Tennessee say rock star Jon Bon Jovi helped coax a woman to safety from the ledge of a bridge. Bon Jovi was filming a music video on the bridge in Nashville on Tuesday when he spotted the woman. The singer and a production assistant slowly approached the woman who was facing outward on the far side of the railing. They are seen speaking to her for a minute or so before she turns around to face them. They then lifted her over the railing to safety. Bon Jovi hugged her and the three walked along the bridge accompanied by police officers. The woman was taken to a hospital for evaluation. Well, that's it for CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can go to our website at cbc.ca/Windsor. You can also download the CBC News app for stories that matter most to you. And don't forget to watch The National tonight at 9 on CBC News Network, 10 p.m. on the CBC News app, CBC TV, and streaming on CBC Gem and CBC Explore. Thanks so much for tuning in. Looking forward to seeing you back here tomorrow night.